Hey Orlando, how's it going?
Hello, it's going good. How are you doing?
Where are you right now?
I'm at home in my music room.
That that looks like a beautiful music room.
Try aesthetics are a big thing when I'm trying to create. I have like a kind of like a really sporadic mind, and if I don't feel comfortable in the space, I just won't write. So the music room was the first thing to deck out.
And you have like all the tools there that you need really to do what you need to be to create it.
Yeah. There's a drum set over there somewhere too. Actually, over quarantine, kind of made some upgrades to it so I could kind of stay home and just record whatever I need to.
That's awesome. So I know we were going to have you in the actual studios for 414 Live, so I'm glad that we get to have you now. It's different, but this is new and exciting.
Pretty
And
fun.
I wanted to dive in right away and ask you. I know you're part of the Midnight Purchase, but you also do Orlando Peña as yourself. Are these two separate projects or are they one and the same?
It's pretty much the same thing. It's the midnight purchase is six people, and it's pretty hard to like get everyone's schedules together. So I was just passing up on a lot of gigs and things like that because it didn't work for a certain person. So it kind of got to be that I would just say yes to pretty much whatever I wanted, and then get whoever I could to come with, and yeah. So they're pretty much the same. It's just a lot more flexible under my own name.
That's cool. I mean, that's great. Then you have more possibilities as well.
Yeah. Sonically and stuff like that, can try more stuff.
And I saw this. I'm so excited to ask you this question. I saw that you spent a few years on a goat farm in rural Illinois and
Yeah.
to master your musicianship, which ultimately made you decide to do this more, it sounds like. So how did you end up there? How did you end up at the goat farm?
Well, I was here and I really started playing guitar like seriously when I was like 20, 21. I didn't really sing much or anything like that beforehand. And I lived in River West right on Locust and Fratney. So I used to go to Lindemann's open mic like every Wednesday.
Nice.
And I was really bad though, like really bad. And I'd watch people like Miles Coyne and like Joe Ha and all them, and they were amazing. Kaylee Conway, and I just kind of wanted in that, but I just was years behind them, and I kind of just felt like I needed to get away from the city because I was just easily distracted by like bars and social life and stuff. So I just wanted to get away and actually see if I could do something worthwhile, I guess. And the goat farm is my uncle's goat farm. He owns a restaurant down there, and I had a few options. I was looking at Nevada, I was looking at Florida, and that was still kind of close to home, and kind of just sounded right.
So you're able to kind of keep tabs and like keep in touch with what was happening in Milwaukee while you're kind of honing in on your musicianship.
I was gigging a bunch in Chicago, and I would come back for like friends' weddings or birthdays or stuff like that. And every time I'd come back, there was a new venue that I'd never heard of, a new beer garden, and I'd always really liked the music scene here. And actually, I wasn't really that fond of the music scene in Chicago. It just didn't really seem like they're keen on helping each other along. It's more, like just rather be competitive. And so it just kind of made sense to come back here. Plus, I hate driving, and you can't drive in Chicago, so Milwaukee's nice for that.
That's true.
Yeah, it just made sense.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I just said it just made sense to come back.
Did your uncle put you to work while you were on the farm?
I helped him out. Yeah, he was pretty much at the restaurant for most of the day. He would come back on his lunch break and like feed the animals, and then they'd be at the restaurant till like 10 o'clock at night, and then he'd come home and he'd be doing whatever he has to do till like midnight. He's a really hard worker. So
Wow.
I had haul buckets of water and corn and yeah, it was good times.
I mean, I'm sure it like builds your character as well, like being on the farm as well as honing in on your musicianship. Like they kind of all go hand in hand as hardworking physically and mentally, really.
It was a really beautiful experience. I think about it all the time now that I'm back. And I mean, eventually I just kind of got bored and lonely there after a while, but I'm really happy I made that choice.
We're so glad you're back, and what a cool story, really. And speaking of and seeing your music room and having watched what you've been up to, we've been in this shutdown, of course, due to the pandemic for quite some time. But I've seen you've been very active with like live stream shows, and you even did like a minimum capacity live show, which was I can't remember exactly where that was just over the past weekend, right?
Oh, over the last weekend, what did I do? Yeah, we were at Lindemann's.
Right. Yeah.
That was their first night open again to the public. I was playing with the guys from JR and the Strangers and Riley Northrup from Wolves with Virginia, two of my favorite acts in town right now, which I had not heard of before I moved back. So it's nice to see new blood. But yeah, it went pretty well. I was a little nervous. I hadn't really like rehearsed a lot of my songs much because I've been kind of just playing new things. But it was nice to be on stage again, and I think Jim was happy with it. And it's just kind of what we have to do in these times, just adapt. And yeah, it's just nice to be out there again.
And that was kind of my question, really, is like, what has it been like to move through this time as a performing artist, wanting to perform live? Like, are you, like, it seems like you're adapting to the experience, but what does it feel like?
Honestly, I think this whole quarantine thing came at like the right time for me. I was getting pretty burnt out on the whole midnight purchase thing. Again, just with like juggling 6 people's schedules and stuff like that for booking, and booking's already hard enough. And so I was just like kind of looking for a break. I was getting really burnt out, and it just happened out of nowhere. And so it's like, wow, this is perfect. Like, can actually just sit at home and just focus on writing and recording and not have to worry about being somewhere and, that whole race and like stuff like that. And being on social media, just take time for yourself kind of thing. It was nice.
And this is actually, in a way, it's kind of like, without going anywhere, you are able to kind of go away and work on music and work on things that you love. And speaking of that, since it's been this kind of, we've had time, do you have any new music coming down the pipeline or projects that you're working on?
Yeah. Yeah, I've got a number of songs that I started recording over quarantine that are kind of just bounced out around the country right now, to just friends that I've met, other musicians. It's kind of the nice thing too about going solo again, is like I could kind of pick and choose like my favorite musicians that I've met that really complement like my sound well and understand it. So yeah, I've got some stuff kind of that I'm waiting to get back from people, but I'm sort of taking my time with it. I don't know. Just want to make sure it's right. But
I mean, that's super smart. You definitely want to like what you put out. You want to like really work on that. And it's so cool too, like in the digital age, we can send tracks like around the world, around the States.
Yeah.
We've met. You can even play with them like over the internet on a live stream,
Yeah.
which is really cool. So what advice would you give creatives, or what has worked for you to keep you moving forward in these challenging times?
I mean, honestly, I didn't really do much playing or writing for like the first 3 weeks. It was just sort of like, cool, no work, like, okay. And so I just sort of hung out, and then that got really boring. And again, I was sort of burnt out on music for a second. And then I usually don't force it if I'm not writing, or if like I feel like I'm at a wall, I won't force it. I think I've grown comfortable enough with my process where I know that if I just wait it out, something will come naturally. And so it was just sad. I needed that 3-week break. And then I just sat down one day and just started recording completely new things.
That's incredible. It's just an action. It's something that's in you, and that helps you keep going forth. For everyone out there, we're going to talk about, you have this secret hidden talent, which I think you could honestly make like a second career in. And I want to talk about that in a moment. But before we get there, for everyone out there listening and viewing this program, how can they support you?
Online, obviously, likes and comments are always appreciated on social media. At Orlando Peña Music. You can also check out the Midnight Purchase. Either my solo thing or the band is also on Spotify and all streaming platforms. Yeah, just follow us, keep in touch and say hey. And I don't know how other musicians are, but it's emotional roller coaster a lot of times with me. So it's always nice to hear from people, that they appreciate what you're doing or something like that, because I tend to beat myself up now and again. So it's nice to do those things. Yeah.
It's good to get affirmations. Well, I hope this is an affirmation. I'm so happy to have you on. And we're about to show a video where you teach us something. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm going to teach you guys how to make pasta from scratch. I've just always loved noodles. I don't know. And everyone had always said, oh, it's really easy. I've also like really been into the culinary arts. I think that was the first thing I wanted to do when I was in high school. But I kind of went and sat in with some chefs during my senior year, and they pretty much all said it's really hard job. It's hard to have a family. It's hard to have a social life because you're working nights, weekends, a lot of holidays. And so you really have to love it, and you're never really going to make much money. And so that kind of like was a deterrent. And then for some reason I chose to be a musician.
Very similar.
So I don't know. I've just always loved food. And so it's just something I've done at home for myself. It just feels good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything you want our listeners to know before we show them that video?
Yeah, we went overboard. We recorded way too much, and so the editing process was tough. We did. There's one note when you're making fresh pasta. A common thing that people tend to mess up is they tend to try to cook it as long as you would like boxed pasta, which is, I don't know, around like 12 minutes or something. Fresh pasta is obviously going to cook way faster, usually within a minute or 2 minutes. And you're going to want to over salt the water because it also has that much less time to absorb the seasonings. And yeah, chefs say like the sea, so don't be afraid of the salt. But again, it's to taste.
Nice. Well, thank you so much, Orlando, for joining us.